name for our gathering. We ask that this will be unto you and not unto anybody. We ask that you will speak very clearly. Use me, Lord, as I bring your word and as I bring this discussion unto your people and unto anybody that can hear my voice. We thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Yes, we are live on YouTube. God bless you for connecting with us. Please share the page and invite somebody to connect with us. It will be a blessing. All right. So tonight is a live workshop. Live workshop. So the idea for the live workshop is that I believe that your life can be a representation of two things. It can be a life that is full of ideas that never gets to be used. Brilliant ideas that you never get the opportunity to put into action. Or it can also be a life that is full of ideas that are actively doing something in your life. And so this meeting is actually a meeting to help you to pick up tools, ideas that you can actually use in your day-to-day life. And that is why we call it the live workshop, the live workshop. And I believe that whatever we learn at this live workshop, if we can begin to let it be a foundation for which we begin to build certain things in our lives, it will go a long way to bless us greatly. Now, tonight, I want to talk to you about what I call it's time to serve. It's time to serve. It is time to serve. I've been meditating and thinking about this idea, the concept of service, or the idea of serving in any capacity that you can think about. And a few thoughts have been going through my mind. As a church, we have been looking at the theme of service in this year, 2022. And over the last few weeks, I've been talking about different aspects of service. But tonight, I want to bring some few ideas together, some of which I have shared in our church environment, some of which have not been shared yet. But tonight, my focus is to be able to give you some practical elements of service. Now, how many of you will agree with me that when you do something and you do it without a certain understanding, there's a way in which you can be doing the thing and you hit a certain road or a certain situation where you feel very discouraged and then you don't get to do what you can do to progress in the thing that you are doing. The reason is that when you don't understand what you do, you lack the ability to continue in it for a long time. But if you do things with clear understanding, some foundational truths that undergird what you are doing, it helps you to function well and it helps you to keep on going without relenting. That is what tonight is about. Getting the understanding that we must have concerning service. Because you see, a lot of us have been serving in different and so many capacities. Some of us have been serving for years. But if I ask you, why do you serve? What is the foundation truth that you have about the service that you are rendering? A lot of us may struggle to put it together. So tonight, I want to help you to bring the idea, the concept of service into a more structured mindset where you'll be able to understand some principles and begin to work with it in a very strong and serious way. So my hope and my trust tonight is that you will leave this workshop inspired to serve, encouraged to serve, with a very good understanding of the whole concept of service. I may not be able to cover everything around service, but I hope to cover enough to help you to understand why you do what you do and what it takes to do it well. I'm tempted to say amen, but I'm holding myself. But I need you to follow me very carefully because this will bless you. Please take some notes, write some things down. At the end of the presentation, I will give room for some questions. So as I go on, If you have a question, something comes to mind, please write it down, and then I'll give some room and you can ask your question and we'll try our best to answer. If I cannot answer, I'm sure there will be somebody on the platform that can do justice to their question. So please make notes and write down some questions. You can also put down some comments on the page as we move forward. Let us know that you are receiving the message. Let us have some thumbs up, a high five or something. If something comes across and it really touches you, you can tweet it if you have a Twitter account, or you can post it on your Facebook page. Only add my name, put Sky O, right, as the originator of the comments, and it will be a blessing. All right. So my aim is to inspire you and to help you. Now, I want to encourage you tonight to serve your generation. There are so many areas that we can serve. One of it is that we must think about how we can serve our generation, this generation we live in. Your time and your season, you are living in a particular time and season where service is needed. And we'll talk detail about that. Serve your community where you live. Serve in your school. If you are in school, university, primary school, secondary school, wherever you find yourself, you can find opportunities to serve. So serve in your school. Serve in your family. Serve in your relationships. Serve in your marriage. Serve your spouse. Serve your husband. Serve your wife. Serve the one that you call your spouse. Serve that person. Serve in your career or profession. Serve in the marketplace. Serve in the church or in the ministry in which you have been blessed to stay. Serve the people that are around you. Serve your creator. And serve again. It is time to serve somebody. Now, let me begin my discussion with a statement. And it's a good one to write down, a statement. And it is this: greatness is not the most important achievement in life, but service is. I repeat, greatness is not the most important achievement in life, but service is. In other words, service is the most important achievement in your life. To serve is more important than being great. To serve is more important than being great. Why do I say this? There's a reason why I thought about this statement and I thought I'll share with you. Now, this is why I say this. If you look at the concept or the idea of greatness, greatness is an end. It is a result. It is a crown, if you like. It is a reward for something. Anytime you call somebody great, you are actually describing somebody that have earned something. You call them great because of something that they have done. Nobody is called great for doing nothing. So greatness is a reward. It is a result. It is a crown on your head for something that has been done. It is an end. But when you think about service, service is a means. It is an action. It is a way. Service is a means. Greatness is a result of a certain action I call service. So when you serve and serve well, then we can call you great. Follow me for a few more minutes as I lay some of this foundation. I'm saying the same things, but in different ways so that as many people as possible can catch some few truths that I want to share with you today. So follow me carefully. Service is the means to greatness. Many people like the idea of greatness. And if I ask some of you to share your experiences of how you would love to be called great, I believe a lot of people will like that idea. The concept of greatness is sweet to the soul of anybody. But not many people like the idea of service. When you call people into service, sometimes it is like a tug of war. You know, I'm dragging them and they are dragging themselves away, and it is like this and like that. I'm coming, I'm not coming. It can be difficult for people to serve. Why? Because service is not easy. It doesn't come easy for a lot of people. So many people like the idea of greatness, but not many people like the idea of service or to serve. Service is the most important thing. Greatness is not. Now, you can attempt to journey to a place of greatness. You can take a trip to greatness and may never arrive at that place. Why? Because greatness in itself does not help you, does not call you to a certain destination. It is when you attempt to serve that you begin to arrive at greatness. So attempt to journey to greatness and you may never arrive, but attempt to service and you begin to arrive at greatness. The road or the route, the way you become great is the way of service. Now, this is a very important statement, and I want you to write it down. Note this. Some of you may be familiar with this phrase. Now, just as pride goes before a fall, so does service go before greatness. So, if you see a person that is doing well, and all of a sudden you begin to see signs of pride in them, you can predict that because of their pride, a fall is inevitable. They are getting ready to come low because of their pride. In the same way, when you see a person begin to serve and serve faithfully, you can predict that because of their faithful service, greatness will be inevitable. They will hit greatness eventually. So follow me carefully. If you want to be great, you must serve. That is the bottom line. If you want to experience greatness, you must allow yourself to go through service. Aim for service and you will be great. Service is the vehicle. It is the machine. It is what propels you for greatness or onto greatness. Now, I consider this person as the greatest teacher of all time, the great master of all time. His name is Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He's the greatest, according to me. He's the greatness. He is the epitome of what it means to really be a good teacher. And this is what Jesus said. For those of you who are very familiar with the scriptures, you will know a scripture in the Bible called Matthew. In Matthew chapter 20, verse 26, Jesus said this, "Yet it shall not be so amongst you, but whosoever desires to become great amongst you, let him be the servant." This is the master of all masters. And he's talking about how a person can achieve greatness. And he says to his disciples, if you want to be great, your route, your way, the machinery that will get you to greatness is when you begin to become a servant. When you serve, you will be great, Jesus says. So I want to say that show me a great person and I will show you a faithful servant. Are we together? Show me somebody who is great in every way possible, and I will show you how that person has been a faithful servant for some time. Now, note this. To be a servant is not to mean you are a slave. Because of the history of slavery and how the whole thing came down and was abolished and everything, sometimes, you see, when people say you are a servant, many times people don't like to be described as servants because it is almost like when you call them servants, they think you are calling them slaves. But the two are not the same. To be a servant means we are only describing what you are doing in the area of service. Anybody who serves is a servant. But not anybody who serves is a slave. Slavery is different from servants or service. A slave means that you are owned legally by another person. To be a slave means that you are a legal property of another person, but not a servant. The differences are this. Servanthood is by choice, not by force. Anytime you are in the space where you are serving, you are there because you have chosen to be there to serve. It is not by force. Nobody should ever force you to come into service. But when it comes to slavery, it is by force, not by choice. People go into slavery not because they want to become slaves. It is because somebody forced them into it. Sometimes it is not even the physical force, but sometimes it is manipulation. Things that are said to make you do things that you otherwise never be wanting to do. Slavery is by force, not by choice. Servants are employed, but slaves are enforced into it. Servants are rewarded for what they do. Slaves don't get a reward for what they do. Slaves are seen as people who can be used and dumped. Servants are seen as helpers and assistants. I hope somebody is following me very carefully. Now, I have a question for you based on what I've said on these two understandings. Who are you right now as I speak? Where you have been serving, who do you consider yourself to be? Do you consider yourself as a servant, an assistant to the progress of the service that you are offering, or you see yourself as a slave? Depending on how you carry yourself and how you got into where you are at right now, you are either a slave or a servant. Who are you right now? Today, I want us to be a little bit more practical and ask some of these difficult questions. If you are a leader and you have people that you are working with, I ask you the same question. How do you treat or deal with the people that are serving under you? Are you treating them as servants or as slaves? It is important that if you have the opportunity to lead people who serve under you, you try to see them as servants, not as slaves. The way you treat people will determine whether they are your slaves or they are your servants. You may answer that question yourself. But I want to bring you some few examples of people that I can think about that I consider people that have offered good service, and we can all remember them for their service. There are people that you may not know that I know they have impacted my life in certain ways. And I'm going to mention some people that are in the past, some of them in our histories that we have studied in different ways, and you will know some of these names. But I want you to know that nobody is perfect. Everybody is working towards excellence and perfection. So all these people and myself, none of us are perfect, but we are all working towards it. What is important is that everybody that we can think about in this list that I'm going to give have served greatly, and we can remember them for what they did. I was in Tanzania a few years ago, and as I went through town, I was with my senior pastor at the time, and we were going through town and visiting a few places. And one thing caught my attention. And it was a very striking attention because everywhere I went, I saw a very popular portrait, a photo of a man. And I asked and began to think, and I discovered that that photo was the picture of Julius Nyerere. He was the president of Tanzania, former president. This man has his photo plastered everywhere within the city. Everywhere in town. Why? Because the nation is remembering themselves of the service that the man rendered to them. It is like a story that is being told, a silent story to the generations that are coming into the system. That anytime they see that photo, it reminds them of their duty to serve and emulate that kind of service. Here was a man who decided to serve his people in such a way that he intentionally lived his life on average. he decided to live his life at the level of the average person in town so that he can get the country to where it needs to be. He was so influential. When he's mentioned Julius Nyerere within an African history, he is a very popular guy. We remember him for his service, what he did. We can also think about a man like Nelson Mandela. We all know the story, very popular worldwide. We know this man. He is remembered or he's mentioned always for the kind of service he rendered for his country, South Africa. And when I begin to talk about some of the elements, the things that we must be aware of when it comes to service, you begin to see it in the lives of these people as I move on. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them, but just understand that these are people that are remembered for service that has been rendered. There's another guy called Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. This man is also remembered for the kind of intellectual studies and things that he was able to do for the land of Singapore. Brought the nation from zero to somewhere. And they are celebrated today because of a man like Lee Kuan Yew, who served his generation and his country. Who are you serving today? Or what are you engaged in? There are people in my life that have impacted me greatly. I can think about my own spiritual mother, the Apostle Victoria Ejakwa in Ghana, impacted my life strength. This is a woman that I can describe as a servant leader by all standards, and I appreciate her. I can think about my own mentor and also a spiritual father to me, Dr. Gospel Odami Kento, JP, because he's still a magistrate. A servant leader, a leader of a remarkable servant heart. Anybody who knows this name will know that this is a man that has given a lot in order to see others thrive in their own ministries. And I can go on and share with you about how he decided to leave the comforts of a certain place and go into a life that was much harder and difficult to do anything. But by the attitude of service, he was able to bring people that were rejected, people that were dejected, people that had all kinds of problems, brought them together. And today, a lot of them have become somebodies serving in different capacities. That is the mark of a true servant. I can talk to you about a pastor that has gone to be with the Lord, a great mentor, a great father, Pastor Rick Seward, one that lived an exemplary lifestyle, a true servant leader. He said, lived at the most simplistic life, but yet impacted people in great capacities to the glory of God. Servant leaders. Your service will speak for you. Your service will describe what your life end will be like, how your life will end and how you'll be described in the end. Note that none of these people are all perfect. A lot of people may have disagreements and opinions about them. But one thing is for sure, and you can never take away from these people, is their servanthood heart. And I want you to note this, that none of these people that I've mentioned from history or in this contemporary life are remembered for their wealth, the money they make. No, they are remembered for the service they rendered. So when you find a good servant, they will not be seeking and running after money and after wealth. What they seek to do is to make an impact. Their mark is to make an impact, influence people rightly, and get them to do things. The ability to serve is very attractive and it pulls you in. Follow me for a few more minutes and then we'll begin to run up. But I need you to understand this, that when it comes to service, it is greater than the idea of greatness. Anybody who serves and serves well will eventually end up in a great place. But the question tonight is that what is the meaning of service? Service. What does it actually mean? It's very simple. Service is to work. It is to carry out a duty. Another way you look at it is that it is to spend a period of time in a job or an activity. Service is to help achieve something. Anytime you say service, it means you are saying, I'm helping to achieve something. Anytime you think about to serve, what you are saying is, I want to carry out a duty. I want to serve. I want to spend time doing something. So tonight, I want us to think about some of the practical elements, some things that service brings to mind, or what service actually involves. What does it involve? And this is a good point to write down. Number one, anytime you see somebody serve, or anytime you get into service, you will find yourself doing this thing. You will be doing a lot of sacrifices. Sacrifice. Service requires sacrifice. Service involves a lot of sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Sacrifice in this particular context means to give up something that is valuable to you in order to help another person. When you say that you are sacrificing something, it means that you are giving up something that is dear to you, something that is valuable, something that you hold, you cherish. But you cannot hold and cherish that thing for so long when you begin to think about another person. So you begin to give it up so that somebody else can be helped. So for example, if I value and I love my sleep, I'm a pastor. I love my sleep. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night praying. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the morning praying. I love to sleep. When I'm sleeping, I love my sleep. Nobody should disturb me. But then I get a phone call that says, Pastor, something is happening to me. I need you to pray for me. I will have to be a good servant in that I will have to learn to give up this precious sleep time in order to stay up and be on the phone and pray for that person. That is what it means to sacrifice. Sometimes, you see, it takes even deeper things, like sometimes your own possessions, some things that you have worked so hard for. How many of you realize that sometimes in order to serve people, you must be able to sacrifice some amount of money? You get to spend in order to help somebody else. That is what service requires. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. What is the sacrifice that is being demanded of you in order to put in a good amount of service? Service will require you to sacrifice something. Something that is dear to you. Something that is precious to you. You give it up in order for you to serve. This is practical. And when you think about your life, some of you are beginning to take a stock of your life, and you begin to realize that this is something you have been doing all this time, but somehow you have not been able to put it into a structure. And so you do it haphazardly. You don't actually put yourself into it. But with this understanding, I'm hoping that when you begin to serve and it demands you to sacrifice and give up some things, you begin to do it with some ease, knowing that your service will not go for granted. It will require sacrifice. I know some of you on the platform and how you have served and sacrificed in deep areas of your life. But I'm here to encourage you to understand that the areas of service that you have been engaged in is a good way. Continue and let your heart not be troubled, because in due season, you begin to see great fruits. Service requires sacrifice. This is the mark of a faithful servant, one that is able to sacrifice. I mean, when you think about a man like Nelson Mandela, the man sacrificed his own freedom. For years, he was imprisoned so that he can be able to continue to press a system that was so wrong to begin to change. And the change came because the man learned and continued in that sacrificial mood. He sacrificed it all. Sacrificed his time, the time for his family, the time he should have spent with his children growing up and enjoying the comforts of the family and enjoying the company of his wife, and everything that he had was gone. Why? Because he wanted to serve. Service. service will take something away from you so that you can help properly. Very practical idea. The second thing that you will notice about service is that service comes with a lot of expectations. Expectations. Somebody will put a demand, will place a demand on your service. I can think of a situation where you love to buy, let's say, a particular bread in your community. Somebody serves a very, very nice, tasty bread, and everybody loves it in the community. That is the service this person offers. But one day, this person says, I'm tired and I want to sleep a little bit more. So instead of getting the bread ready at 7 a.m., it is 8 a.m. and the bread is still not up yet. You will find people lining up or queuing up at the person's door, knocking and bashing their door. And when the person opens the door, what do you want? I want to buy bread. Can you imagine how this person will feel? I'm tired, I need to rest. But the people have come to demand the service because the expectation is that your service is good and we want it. So by all means, whether you are tired, sick or not, we want the service done. If you have been a pastor for some time, you identify with some of these things. There are times where you are tired and you just want to rest. But because of the expectations of people, because of the demand that is placed on the service that you offer, there are times people will call you at odd times and you are wondering, why would this person even want to bother me at this point? But there's a demand for every service that you want to offer. And you must learn to understand the demand so that you can serve right. If you don't understand the demand, you will tell people, get away from me, I'm tired. You will tell people, I don't want to do this anymore. You become discouraged and angry and you will be getting ready to quit. Why? Because you don't understand the demand and the expectation. But once you get to understand that this service I'm offering, it comes with a certain expectation. I am expected to be on time. I'm expected to be able to deliver at a certain quality. I'm expected to be able to be there, do what I must do. I'm not saying don't rest. There's time for all of that. But I'm saying that anytime you get ready to serve, just understand that it will place a demand, a certain expectation on you. And you must be ready to understand it so that you can do it properly. Are we together? Stay with me for a few more minutes. I'm getting ready to bring it to a close. But these are the key elements that really service really brings out in every one of us. And I pray that as we get to understand these things, we'll begin to serve with ease, serve with excitement, serve with another level of passion and enthusiasm. Any area of service, it could be an area, for example, if you are in a ministry, an area of service could be in a prayer and intercessory group. It takes a lot of sacrifice and it takes a lot of expectation for you to get there, but you will get there and serve well. Now, the next thing, the third thing that service will require is, or you will see that service involves, is the idea of reward. Reward. Nobody serves and serves well and go unrewarded. Your service will always earn you a good reward. Sometimes you don't even ask for it. You reject it, but it will still come to you because service has a way of attracting reward. And so when you serve and serve well, you can be rest assured your reward will come. So service is very rewarding in itself. Anytime you are able to serve, anytime you are able to deliver a good service, you feel satisfied. Your soul is rested. Service has a lot of reward in there. It means, when you say reward, it means something that is given in exchange for good behavior or good work. Anytime you think about reward, you are thinking about something that is exchanged for good behavior or good work. So service really can reward you. It is satisfying. It brings you to a place of great peace when you serve and serve well. Let me move on to the next point. Our time is almost up. Let me move on to the next point. Now, the next thing you see about service is that service must be valued. Whatever you are serving, whatever work you are doing by area of service, you must learn to value it. Because you see, whatever you don't value, others are likely not to value as well. So if you say that you are, let's say you are serving in a restaurant, you are providing food and services, food services within your community, and you don't value the service you are rendering, the people that you are trying to serve will not also value it. So you must learn to value your time, value the work that you are doing. Whatever you value will be valued by others. What you don't appreciate will not be appreciated by others. But whatever you tend to want to be excited about, if you are valuing the thing that you are serving on, you'll be excited about it. You want to come on time. You want to be there. Even when you are sick, on a sick bed, your heart will be yearning for you to be there. Why? Because you value that time and space. Service is very valuable, and you must value it. What is not important to you may never be important to somebody. So learn to make your service an important thing in your life. Let it be important to you to show up on time. Let it be important to you to do your best with the things that you serve on. Let it be important to you that whatever you do, you are smart, you are progressing, you are doing well, and people are accepting and appreciating what you do. Service must be important to you. You must value it so it can go well for you. Finally, the last element that I want to talk about when it comes to service is that service will require some level of endurance. Endurance is the ability to keep doing something difficult, unpleasant, or painful for a long time. You are on it. You are on it day and night, rain or shine, winter or summer. You are in there, going about it, doing what you must do. You have staying power. Nothing shakes you. Nothing moves you. Temptation comes and you keep serving. Trouble comes and you keep serving. Somebody that has endurance is one that is able to do something difficult. It may be unpleasant. It may be painful, but you are able to stand through it all for a long time. A true servant will have this attitude in them. Longevity, ability to endure, because service is not easy, especially when you have to serve people. Sometimes the disappointment and the heartbreaks can kill, but endurance will keep you stayed, will keep you focused, it will keep you grounded. Endurance. It is needed for active and strong service attitude. Service will require endurance. So these are the 5 things that I wanted to bring to you that you must understand. That anytime you serve, number 1, it will require sacrifice. Anytime you serve, it will place a demand, an expectation on you. Anytime you serve, you should be rested assured because reward will come. Nobody serves and serves forever without a reward. It will come, whether in this life or in the next. Your reward will come. So don't let your heart be broken. Then fourthly, you must learn to make your service an important thing to you. It must be important. You must value it. And then lastly, you must learn to endure. Endure all. Endure all. Stay put. Don't rush out. Don't throw in the towel because somebody said that and this happened and all the excuses that you can give. Sometimes the excuses are so much it overwhelms us and then we give up. But endurance means regardless of the excuse, you will stay put. You will keep going, especially when you are convinced that whatever area of service you are rendering is necessary, it's important, it is God-given, and it is something that has to be done. You will stay through it. Nelson Mandela endured. Lee Kuan Yew endured. Julius Nyerere, he endured. I can think about Pastor Gospel, they endured. Apostle Ejapa, she endured. Everybody who serves properly will endure something, but you have to stay in to the glory of God. So keep going. Your endurance will produce experience, beautiful and sometimes difficult experiences, but it will all add to your growth as a person. Endurance will produce in you beautiful quality when you learn to do something and you keep at it all the time, you become a master of it. It helps you to strengthen your experience and get things done in a better way. Let me sign a note of caution here, though, that your endurance must come from a sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, enjoyment, not unhappy or some uncomfortable situation. So when I say endure in your service, you are enduring because what you are doing is satisfying. It gives you a sense of satisfaction. It gives you a sense of purpose. It is necessary and it is important. When you don't have these things in place, your endurance will be for nothing. Because I don't want us to be enduring in service when it is unnecessary, when it is not practical for you to be in that particular kind of service. Are you following? So endure and let your endurance be something that is necessary to endure on, and it will be a blessing to you. Let me begin to wrap up by sharing a few more thoughts on service, and then I'll open the floor for some few questions, and then we'll get ready to finish. How does service arise? How do you come about a service? How does a service begin? Service will start. A service will begin when there is a need. Write it down. Service begins because there is a need. Service is offered to meet or satisfy a certain need. Your service is important because it is meant to satisfy somebody's need. Anytime you think about service, you are actually thinking about a situation where you are trying to respond to a certain need or the lack of something, the absence of something within the environment, within your marriage, within the family, within the school, within the community. Something is lacking, and so it provokes a service. That is how services begin. So begin to look all around you. The needs that are present is an indication that service is needed. It is an attempt to provide solutions to problems all around us. Service is an attempt to provide, to respond to solutions all around you. So your service, you see, it speaks to certain needs around you. Anytime there is a need, it is an opportunity for service. So you see, need is not a bad idea sometimes. Need is actually things that can provoke your heart to begin to ask, what can I do to handle this particular issue or matter? What can I do to satisfy this particular need? When need arises, service becomes very obvious. Service becomes the response to the need around you. So this is it, that when you fail to serve, somebody's need may never be satisfied. Think about it. Anytime you are inspired, you see a need to satisfy, and you don't create the necessary service opportunity, what you are doing is that you are depriving people of having their needs met. Your service speaks to the need of people around you. So it is the response to needs all around you. For example, where you live, in the community that you live, depending on which country you are connected from or where you can hear me from, there are services that are provided within that community. For example, where I live in the UK, there are so many services around. The government have services like health service, hospitals, clinics, places where you go when you are sick. Somebody has decided to create that service so that when you are sick, and you can come into that space and they can look at you and help you with medication or whatever they can do to help you feel better and get better. It is a service. It is a service that is there to meet the needs of sicknesses and illnesses all around us. Health service. There is a service called the educational service. Schools, places of learning, they are all created. They are services that are available so that somebody can go and learn, understand some concepts, get to know some ideas, learn some things that will help you to develop as a person. Educational services all around us. You have what we call the security service. Some companies are set up so you can be secured all around us. Sanitation services, people that comes to collect your bin on the streets. They are all services. These things have come about because there is a need to clean our environment. There is a need to heal the sick. There's a need to educate people. These are all services. What is the need around you that can create or inspire a certain service in your heart? And I'm being very general because I want you to link these ideas to anything that you can think about in your life, and you will see that these principles will work for you. It will work for you at the workplace. It will work for you in the church. It will work for you in the ministry, only if you can begin to set it as your foundational understanding, and you can go far in the things that you can do in service. So serve in the community. Security services. This ideas is how businesses and charitable organizations actually get established. Some people are in business today because where they live, they notice that there are no, for example, there are no, for example, what I'm thinking about something. Let's say water bottles. There are no water bottles. So they set up a water bottling company or a water bottling service where they collect water, treat it, put it in a nice bottle like this, and then package it and tell people this is pure water, clean water. You don't have to drink the one coming from your tap. It could be contaminated. This one is guaranteed to be pure. And they provide that service. And we all pay to get this service because it is good for us. A man called Bill Gates noticed that computers were huge and big. I understand that those days, in order to understand the computer and work it, the kinds of things you must learn. You can't keep the computer on your table as you have it today. It is a huge thing. So he made a study. He did all the research work and decided to put systems in place that will make you operate your computer in an easier way. And that is how Microsoft or softwares were created. He calls them Windows. And you put them in the computer, so you click on it, and the thing tells you how to work the computer. When I started learning computer, I was learning DOS. And then press this key and link it to that one. It was so confused. You know, some of us who are not very smart in our learning, we can have all these things jammed in our head, and it looks all gloomy and difficult. But thank God for Bill Gates. He created this service. Now all of us are benefiting from it. Am I talking to somebody here? Serve. Find areas of service and get involved with it. It will be a blessing to you and to people around you. Service can be a long-term thing, a short-term thing, or a medium-term thing. Whichever area of service you find, I want to encourage you today. You can serve. Look for the opportunity and get involved. Now, before you start a service, you must determine these two things. Very important determination you must make. Number one, determine the scope of work involved. You must know the length, the breadth, the depth, the height of the kind of service that you want to offer. If you don't get to know these things, it can overwhelm you. You can get into something and then you begin to see, oh, this is not what I thought it would be like. And then you begin to get discouraged and bow out. But when you understand the scope, if you can determine it, sometimes you see, you cannot see all the scope. You can't understand everything, but you must make the effort to come to a good understanding of some scope of the work involved so that you can stay long, so that you can give it your best shot. So understand the scope of work involved. Number two, you must determine the qualifications or skill sets that are required for this service. And this is a very important point, because you can begin to do something, then all of a sudden you realize, I don't have what it takes to continue, then what do? So you must get to understand and determine, do I have the qualities, do I have the skill sets for this kind of service that I want to get into? You must determine that. If not, you become a round peg trying to fit a square hole, or a square peg trying to fit a round hole. When that happens, you, the one trying to fit the peg, you become tired. The peg will struggle. The hole will struggle. Everything will become a mess and difficult because you don't have what it takes. So you must determine it. Determine it. Get to know what kind of skill sets do I need on this particular thing, and get ready to learn it. Get ready to do it. Don't be a square peg trying to fit a round hole. It can be difficult to manage. You will struggle. The people you are trying to deal with will struggle. Your superiors will struggle because you are not able to bring things together and do what is expected. You are lacking the skill set, or you are lacking the qualification. You don't have what it takes, and it can be difficult to manage. We must understand that we are not all gifted in the same way. Your gifts and your abilities may be different from another person. So find where you can serve with your gifting and function there properly. Don't try to do things that are beyond your ability. Do what you can, and it will be much more satisfying and fruitful. But let me also say this, that if you don't have what it takes, it does not mean that you cannot serve. Very important. Because sometimes there are people who you call to do things. I don't have what it takes. I can't do this. I am not able because it is not my thing. I'm not gifted for this. And all the excuses are coming. The fact that you don't have the skill set or don't have what it takes does not mean you cannot serve. So what can you do? There are 4 things that you can do. And the first 2 is very important, that you learn to train for the service. You can develop yourself to learn the trade. You can learn the service. If you find that you are a square peg trying to fit a round hole, what you can do is to begin to tell somebody or go to a place where they can begin to shape you into a round peg so you can fit the round hole. It is possible. You can learn to serve in an area. You may not have the gift for it. You may not have knowledge in it, but you can train. You can go to school. You can learn. You can get somebody to literally teach you how to get some things done. So when you don't know how to do things, don't struggle. Don't force yourself to do it. If not, everything will go bad. But begin to show the attitude of a learner. Begin to say, I don't know how to do this, but I need somebody to teach me. I can learn. And when you open yourself up to it, you begin to see that you will be more fruitful and satisfying, and you will do well. You may not do well as somebody who is gifted for it, but you will do well. Your service will speak and will shine. So learn the trade. You don't know how to pray? No problem. You can still serve in the prayer department. How? You can learn to pray. Somebody can teach you. You don't know how to usher? No problem. Somebody can teach you the ushering business. You don't know how to bake bread and sell to make money. Somebody can teach you how to make bread and create a business out of it. You don't know how to buy and sell? Talk to somebody. You'll be amazed the kind of skills somebody can teach you. Simple, but very valuable. And it will break you into a whole new level of service that will make you smile. And people will be proud of you. So learn if you don't know how to do it. Train for it. Number 2, you can also get an experienced person to partner with you so that you can serve. So you may know something about the thing, but you don't know it all. So you find somebody who has a more advanced knowledge about what you want to do, partner with them, and then you get along and serve. That is also possible. Number 3, you can also hire completely. If you have the cash, you have the means, you can hire somebody. You say, hey, I see that in this community, we don't have this. We don't have a school. I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to administrate or put things together in the area of academics. So I will employ this, that, and that, and that. Pay the service and let somebody do it. You can hire for somebody to handle it if you don't know how to do it. And then number 4, which I don't recommend you do, but sometimes it happens, and it must sometimes happen, that you walk away. If you know you don't have the skill set for it, you can't train for it, you can't partner with somebody, you can't hire somebody, then walk away. Walk away. Be at peace with it and stay away. I don't recommend that you do that, but sometimes it happens. And this is a workshop, so I'm trying to be very practical here. So let me wrap up by saying this. If you have a question, I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then everybody can unmute, and then we can talk. I'll allow 1 or 2 questions, or if there are no questions, we will pray and go. But I trust that you have some questions for me, and I'll try to answer them before we go. Let me conclude by saying this, that it is time for us to begin to serve. It is not time for us to give excuses anymore. If you are in a particular environment, look around you. If you are in a family, look around you within the family. There are things you can do to begin to meet the needs that are represented there. Look around you in your church. There are things you can do. Sometimes all it takes is to go and see the pastor or whoever is your superior and say, I have seen this need and I think I can do something about it. And before long, you'll be given the opportunity to begin to serve. Look around you and let the excuses stop. It is time to serve. It is time to begin to be a little bit more sacrificial. Understand the expectation that has been placed on you. There is a saying that to whom much is given, much is expected. You have no excuse anymore. And I hope tonight I've been able to give you some structure, some understanding on the things that you have been doing, the areas of service, or how you can begin to serve and serve effectively. So get ready and get set and get on with it, because it is possible to serve to the glory of God and your Maker. Are we good tonight? Can we all mute and give the Lord a clap, everybody?